So we're going to blend that gold in and carry on the rest of the way down the shell with the same amount of thickness. Whoa, almost lost him. So we'll have the best reaction with the lightest color to the darkest color if the seam where the two meet is solid with a bright yellow, orange, gold, whatever this color is on one seam and the darkest purple is on the other. Okay, so now we have to come blend that in, making sure not to touch this part of the shell down on your work table or it will take off your paint. And I know now this color is really bright, the orange one's kind of fading away, but that's okay. We have multiple layers to be able to catch up each of these layers of paint. So we have just to be patient. Alright, so the gold is caught up in color scale. Now I'm going to move on to the final color, which I actually might, I'm not sure I'm wanting to do that quite yet. When you put the dark purples on and stuff, they are very unforgiving. You have to do them kind of as a last resort and when you're perfectly happy with every other color. Otherwise you constantly have to keep going over them. But I'm going to do it on this guy just so you can see the blending process. Don't really want to set him down in a way that makes it so it touches. So the purple is not as thick as the rest of the paints. So in an effort to make it so it goes on in one layer like these ones do and not turns out thin, I'm going to add a little more paint to it. I'm going to start in this deepest crease right here. And we want it to be a bit like a starburst, where it kind of streaks out from there. I'm going to pull in a different blending brush if I can, and these ones never... Alright, so this is a bigger blending brush. Remember, this is still the very first layer, so this is not what it's going to end up looking like. We're just putting the color down so that we can get the placement for the future layers so that we know where to concentrate each layer of color. I imagine, as with Draken, it'll take about 3 decent layers after the color placement to get it to be what I want it to look like. I don't want it to blend up onto the yellow, so I'm staying only on this surface and pulling it towards the brown, not the yellow. I'm only going to do a little bit at a time just so I don't accidentally bugger it up. That's kind of pretty. It's looking really neat as it's sinking into that crease. Okay, we're going to move around to the next little swatch. Purple blends in with brown in an amazing, I don't know, just like it's meant to blend together, those two particular colors. Alright, so that's the total outline of his little shell. Alright, so that gives us the shape, it gives us the depth, and it gives us something to start from at the next layer. The last thing I want to paint purple is the flare on his shell. I just think it should be kind of capped at a unique color and not go into the brown, so I'm going to put a purple flare on his shell. And this may or may not be natural. I have no idea what actual shells, snails, maybe probably a brown color, but this is my imagination and this is what I choose to use it for. I want it to be smooth looking as much as I can on the solid layers. And blend it at the edges in a nice fashion so it's not just choppy. Alright, we'll move on to the next swatch of it across the back of him. His head kind of makes that a little more tricky to get this particular little crease. You have to be a little patient with that and work to get it into that spot without smearing it all over his neck. Okay, last side. Almost there. And then I'm going to cook him, and then we'll move on to the next layer where we'll darken everything up. If you don't blend this on this layer, you'll have all these little funny marks in it for every layer afterwards, so you have to be careful to keep each layer nice and smooth and evenly blended. Alright, I think I'm good. Alright, so this is the under layer of his shell. And he's ready to cook at this point.